Chapter 11. Donna let out a disdainful snort. With inexplicable animosity, she scoffed, "Now, be on your way out." Orissa was breathless with anger. After shooting one last glance at Donna, she turned her back against Donna and left the room. Seeing how she had offended her potential boss's fiancé, she reckoned that she probably did not have a chance of getting the job anymore. Even if you really were his fiancé, you shouldn't be so rude and unkind to others, Orissa retorted. At this point, she was no longer intimidated by Donna's threats. She was determined to leave this situation with her dignity intact. Donna's face began to scrunch up in anger. She glared at Orissa's departing figure with sinister thoughts boiling within her. At this point, Orissa had walked out of Benjamin's office and headed toward the direction of the elevator. She then boarded the elevator immediately. Just then, the private elevator inside the CEO's office opened. Benjamin stepped out of the elevator. The man's posture was tall and proud, while he had extraordinarily handsome features. He also radiated an innate sense of nobility that could make anyone's heart in his presence flutter. Donna's heart began to pound at the sight of him. Staring at Benjamin's impeccably handsome face, a hint of madness arose within her. This man was hers in her mind, and whoever was to stand in her way shall be met with death undoubtedly. With his long and narrow yet sharp phoenix eyes, Benjamin quickly scanned the room. However, instead of finding the supposed interviewee, he saw Donna instead. Immediately, he frowned at the sight of Donna. "Benjamin, you're here. I brought you breakfast," Donna exclaimed after quickly adjusting into a gentle expression. She then briskly walked over to Benjamin's side and attempted to wrap her hand around Benjamin's arm. However, Benjamin swiftly dodged that attempt of hers. He walked toward his desk with a stone-cold expression instead. "What are you doing here?" he asked in an eerily cold voice, with no hint of warmth in his tone at all. Donna's heart sank. Looking at her pair of lonely hands, the smile on her face began to stiffen. Nevertheless, she recollected herself and quickly followed after him, gathering a smile on her face once again. "Well, I was afraid that you haven't eaten breakfast. Here, I made this for you. Please eat it while it's still hot," Donna replied as she opened the lunchbox and placed it on Benjamin's desk. Yet, Benjamin only swept one glance at the lunchbox before monotonously replying, "Please go and leave me alone. I have other things to do." Benjamin sat down and began to work. That eerily cold and apathetic attitude of his made her feel like her heart sank alongside a large stone. "After all these years, he still refuses to forgive me. Benjamin," Donna called out. She could feel a tinge of sorrow in her nose. Seeing how indifferent and cold Benjamin was, her heart fluttered in panic. Especially after that encounter with Orissa, Donna sank even deeper with fear. If Benjamin were to find out, "I've just had my meal back home. Now, put these down and head off. I'm busy," Benjamin ordered. He cut her off abruptly without even casting her a glance, demanding that she left that instant. "In that case, please have them when you feel hungry later," Donna pleaded. She cast him an unwilling gaze, reluctant to part ways with him. However, she soon spotted Benjamin dialing an internal extension number. It looked like he was summoning for Ethan. Immediately, Donna could tell what he intended to do next. Feeling panicked, she opted to strike first. "Oh, by the way, Benjamin, when I arrived at the office earlier this morning, there was a lady sitting here by the couch. She seemed to have accepted a phone call from another company inviting her for an interview. She requested that I convey this on her behalf. Apparently, the other company managed to offer her a better remuneration package than Graham Group. The total remuneration offered by Graham Group was too low in comparison now. So she chose the other company and decided to leave this interview prematurely." Benjamin's face darkened immediately. The eerie sense of chills he radiated prior grew more intense too. Realizing how mad he had gotten, Donna secretly beamed with smugness. "There shall be no chance for you to join Graham Group anymore, Orissa York. The one thing Benjamin hates most is people failing to keep their promises. He hates a sudden change to pre-agreed plans too." "Got it." Benjamin put the phone back down. He proceeded to ignore Donna and got back to work. Gazing toward her perfect guy, Donna hoped to stay on for a little longer. Nevertheless, in the face of Benjamin's cold hostility, she did not dare to approach him anymore. Thus, she had no choice but to leave the office. Donna had just reached the office entrance when she bumped into Ethan. Upon seeing Donna, Ethan was stunned. "Miss Adams," Ethan addressed her. Donna murmured. She put on her cold and aloof stance once again, then headed in the direction of the elevator with her head held high. This brief encounter had Ethan muttering inwardly, "Miss Adams can be pretty disrespectful and ill-mannered sometimes, huh?" Soon after, Ethan retracted his gaze and walked toward Benjamin's office. Seeing how Orissa wasn't there, Ethan was puzzled. Could it be that Miss York has gone to the bathroom? "Mr. Graham, have you met Miss York already?" Ethan asked as he walked toward Benjamin's work desk. Yet, he received a piercing glare from Benjamin in return. Ethan felt utterly puzzled. Looking at his boss, who was clearly infuriated, he tried to carefully ask again, "You've met her? Next time, don't waste my time with people who are disinterested in the company." Benjamin roared. "Which bloody company is it that could afford to offer a better remuneration than Graham Group? Blacklist this candidate and never consider hiring her again." He continued, "Geez, do you think my business is short of a mighty individual like you?" Upon hearing this, Ethan blinked in confusion. He had no idea what had happened. Orissa was a candidate that he spent a lot of effort getting in touch with. It was a mere coincidence that she had plans to return to the country, thus was willing to accept the job offer. "Mr. Graham, don't you know how hard it is to get hold of promising talents these days?" "Mr. Graham, mind if I ask what happened?" Ethan was determined to get to the bottom of this. "You're asking me?" Benjamin's piercing gaze swept across the office. When he caught sight of the lunchbox on the desk, his temper exploded into an even fouler state. "Well then, who else should I have asked? Weren't you the one who saw her?" Ethan let out a sigh. He felt it was such a shame this recruitment effort did not go through. Previously, Benjamin had seen Orissa's resume too. He also agreed that her skills and experiences were suited for the role in the company. "Now, take this away," Benjamin instructed domineeringly. "Right, okay." Ethan quickly picked up the lunchbox on the desk. He carefully peeked at his boss before commenting, "Miss Adams treats you well, huh? Making an effort to make you food the moment she returns is great." Honestly, Ethan did not like Donna much as a person. Regardless, he had no choice but to speak nicely of her since she was his boss's sweetheart. Who knew if the day came when she became his boss's wife? It was safer and wise to speak nicely of her now. Benjamin shot Ethan another glare. Ethan was surprised, gulping. Instinctively, he then smiled awkwardly and said, "I'll take it away this instant if you don't like it." "But Mr. Graham, Miss York is a rare talent. Are you sure you won't reconsider your decision? Has there been a misunderstanding somewhere along the lines?" Ethan had only gone to the bathroom and left her for a short moment. Thus, he couldn't understand why Orissa had left by the time he came back. Sigh. If only I hadn't walked away. None of this would have happened then. The woman declared that the terms we offered were not up to her expectations, Benjamin scoffed. "Now, is there anything else?" Seeing how bad of a mood his boss was in, Ethan merely shook his head and decided not to report other matters pertaining to their work. He would wait for Benjamin to be in a better mood again before reporting the rest of their work details. With his brows knitted together, Ethan turned around and left the office. "Didn't Miss York agree to the terms offered by our company the last time we spoke over the phone? Why did she change her mind at the last minute?" Ethan couldn't get over his confusion. When he reached the entrance of the office, he turned back to face Benjamin before asking him, "Mr. Graham, did Miss York personally tell you that she was declining our offer because our offer was unattractive?" Ethan just felt that something was off. Typically, even if an employment negotiation failed to work out, candidates would usually be more indirect in declining the offer. They wouldn't outright fuss and complain about the employment offer, especially when their potential employee was Benjamin Graham. Wouldn't they think twice before choosing to offend Mr. Graham? Only a dimwit would be stupid enough to do that, right? "She told me about it," Benjamin stated bluntly. He wanted Ethan to drop this ordeal. That way, he could go back to reading his documents. After being stunned for a while, Ethan caught on that Benjamin was referring to Donna. His lips twitched in response to this realization. Miss Adams could have come to see Mr. Graham at any time of the day. Yet, she came coincidentally at the moment of Miss York's interview. Also, Miss Adams didn't respond to my greetings on her way out. Could it be that she was the one who chased Miss York away? Ethan glanced over at Benjamin but did not dare to say anything more. He headed back to his office. After giving things some thought, he decided to call Orissa and understand what happened. After all, he was the one who scouted for Orissa. His instincts told him that there must be a reason behind her unpleasant encounter today. Orissa couldn't have despised the Graham Group for no reason. Chapter 12. After exiting the Graham Group office, Orissa turned around to look at the sky-high building. It was undeniable that she felt a little disappointed with the interview outcome. At first, she thought the interview would proceed smoothly and that she would soon begin working here. But who knew a turn of events would change this trajectory? Since fate had other plans, she could only search for other opportunities. I mean, there are plenty of other companies besides Graham Group anyway. Orissa hailed a taxi to go home. On the way back, she suddenly received a phone call. Seeing that it was Ethan, Orissa felt odd that he could still call her after her earlier encounter. Orissa furrowed unconsciously. Nonetheless, she answered the phone call with a courteous tone. "Hi there, Mr. Frank." "Hello, Miss York," Ethan replied, secretly trying to test the waters. "Miss York, is there something that you're unsatisfied with Graham Group? If the concern relates to your remuneration, please know that we're open to discussion. Our CEO, Mr. Graham, really values your talent. We sincerely hope that you'll consider working with us." Orissa was stunned by Ethan's words. What is Mr. Frank up to now? Orissa tried to make sense of the situation before concluding that Ethan and the rest of them probably didn't know that she was chased away by Donna. Thus, she replied, "There's nothing that I'm unsatisfied with the Graham Group. I came to today's interview with sincerity to join the company too. However, since Mr. Graham's fiancée did not like me and chose to shoo me away with a mouthful of nasty and impolite words, I figured that there is no longer a reason for me to join your company. I will take my shot with other companies instead." Upon listening to this, Ethan was shocked. "You mean Miss Adams?" Miss Adams. Orissa's heart skipped a beat at the sound of that name. The name instantly brought out a deep-seated hatred that she had buried deep in her heart for many years. 5 years ago, a woman, who was also called Miss Adams, forcefully took her children away from her. Furthermore, she instructed cruel treatments upon Orissa and her children. It was extremely fortunate that someone found them. Otherwise, she and her children would have died a painful death. Is this Miss Adams the same individual as the woman from my past? Or is it just a coincidence that they happen to share the same last name? To this day, Orissa still couldn't understand why that woman wanted to take her babies away from her. They had no past grudges and didn't even know each other. Yet, that woman secretly set Orissa up and locked her in an abandoned building until she gave birth to her children. Initially, Orissa thought that this whole thing was her father's doing. However, as time went by, she realized that things didn't make sense. She will never forget those dark days and had sworn to find that woman to exact retribution. But more importantly, she needed to find her lost children back. Miss York. Realizing that Orissa had stopped responding for a while, Ethan called out to get hold of her attention. Orissa finally came back to her senses and responded, "I'm here." "Miss York, so are you saying that you were chased away by Miss Adams and did not leave the interview because your negotiation with Mr. Graham failed?" Ethan was still in shock. He needed Orissa to confirm this explicitly as he still had a lingering worry that the interview might have failed because of the negotiation between her and his boss. Who knew that Miss Adams would interfere with the company's hiring interview? "I haven't even gotten the chance to meet Mr. Graham before being chased away by that woman. That woman said that if she couldn't see my potential, Mr. Graham wouldn't see it either." Orissa's mood was affected by the memories and realizations she recalled. Since she wasn't in a good mood, she didn't bother to explain herself to Ethan further. "Anyhow, your company is way out of my league. Goodbye now," Orissa commented before ending the call. Am I being overly sensitive about this matter? That woman from the office earlier sounded different from the woman 5 years ago. That woman who took my babies had a slightly hoarser voice. Orissa then tried hard to recall the encounter with Miss Adams at the office earlier. She recalled seeing how shocked Miss Adams was when she caught sight of her. Initially, she thought that the woman was just surprised to find someone else in her fiancé's office. But come to think of it now, it did seem like she recognized Orissa. Not to mention the way she arrogantly treated Orissa and that inexplicable animosity she had against her. She seemed to be rushing to chase Orissa out of the office. The more Orissa thought about it, the more she shuddered. Could she be the same woman from that incident 5 years ago? If that's the case, wouldn't my children be with her now? Orissa quickly took out her phone to search, Benjamin Graham's fiancé. If that woman is Mr. Graham's fiancé, then the media must have covered her news in the past. It's probably just me who's struggling to find her information. Could it be that Mr. Graham has hidden all the personal and private information relating to him? Seeing how unique his identity is, it's probably normal if the media chooses not to report news about him too. Perhaps I could ask Ethan for Miss Adams' first name. That way, it'll be easier for me to conduct my investigations. At the thought of that, Orissa quickly tried to call Ethan. However, Ethan did not have his phone with him now. He was on his way to the CEO's office to find Benjamin. At the office, Ethan carefully studied Benjamin for a while. Nonetheless, he failed to determine what Benjamin was feeling. Speak if you have something to say. If not, get out and get back to work. Benjamin roared after casting Ethan a sharp gaze. Mr. Graham, I have just spoken to Miss York. Despite being glared at by Benjamin, Ethan mustered his remaining courage to finish his sentence. She said that it was your fiancé who chased her away earlier. There was pin-drop silence in the air. Consequently, Ethan closed his eyes so that he wouldn't have to look at Benjamin. My fiancé, Benjamin snorted with skepticism. Benjamin never doubted Donna. On the contrary, he believed that Orissa could not be trusted. What is wrong with Ethan? Did he get brainwashed by that candidate? Why is he speaking on her behalf time and time again? She's quite good at coming up with excuses, isn't she? So what if she was chased away? What good is a candidate like her if she didn't even think to check things through with you? With a stern voice, Benjamin continued, stop wasting more time on her and find someone else. It's not like the Graham Group would fall apart without her. Now get out. Benjamin was in a terrible mood. After being reprimanded, Ethan rubbed his nose and left the room. Sigh. Miss York really is a precious talent that the Graham Group needs. Can't Mr. Graham be a little more understanding? Doesn't he realize how hard it is to find another suitable candidate? I mean, we're looking for the best IT engineer in the industry, not just some ordinary engineers. Meanwhile, Donna arrived at an underground parking lot. With a fierce look of mercilessness flashing across her eyes, she picked up her phone and called someone. The recipient answered the phone call while trembling in fear. Am I, Miss Adams? So you do remember me? Donna's voice was vicious and rude. A complete difference from how she portrayed herself in front of Benjamin. Of course, I remember you, Miss Adams. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have the life I have today, the middle-aged woman replied with fear and gratefulness. Is there something that I can help you with, Miss Adams? Donna had not contacted her for a few years. Thus, the middle-aged woman could tell that nothing good was up now that Donna reached out to her out of the blue. Her heart palpitated with uneasiness. Donna let out a snort before interrogating the middle-aged woman. Why didn't you tie up loose ends for that thing I asked you to do 5 years ago? I just saw that woman alive and well right in front of me, fool. Alive and well? That's impossible. All of them were eaten alive by beasts. The middle-aged woman exclaimed in disbelief. That woman is alive, but that's impossible. Did you see her being eaten alive with your very own eyes? Donna pressed on. She had to find out what exactly happened back then. If Orissa did die, then the woman Donna met earlier in the office couldn't have been her. Yet, Donna trusted her own eyes more. She was sure that she did not mistake Orissa for someone else. Back then, we saw a pack of wolves rush up to them and tear them apart. Then, we left. We couldn't bring ourselves to see the rest, the middle-aged woman whispered. Indeed, we did not witness them being eaten alive ourselves. There were so many wolves among that pack. We were afraid of being attacked too. If the wolves were to charge at them, they would have a hard time leaving the scene even if they were inside the car, which was why they sped off after seeing the wolves closing in on the family from afar. Chapter 13. Orissa was on pins and needles when she did not receive any reply from Ethan. Did I offend him for being rude earlier? Is that why he's ignoring me now? In an instant, her mind was awash with all sorts of speculations. After hesitating for a short while, she finally gathered herself to make a call. She felt uneasy as she waited, and the call was eventually picked up before it disconnected. Miss York. Ethan sounded surprised. Mr. Frank, there's something I'd like to ask you. Orissa probed cautiously after holding in the jumble of emotions rising in her. What's it about? What is the full name of Mr. Graham's fiancée? Asked Orissa, holding her breath. Donna Adams. Ethan was slightly taken aback by the unexpected question. Doesn't she know Donna? Oh, thank you. All right then, I was just curious. Keeping her composure, she hung up the call. The next instant, she looked up for Donna on her phone. Donna Adams is the only daughter of Adams Group. Despite being born wealthy, she has expressed her deep interest in the film industry. She's now the hotshot movie star, and her fans call her Donnie. Upon reading that, Orissa's brows settled into a frown. Is she the Donnie that I heard at the airport? She had her eyes fixed on Donna's photos as she continued to ponder. Why does she look like a completely different person from what I saw? She looks pretty yet elegant, and her smile is so lovable in the photo. If I didn't meet her in real life just now, I bet I'd be fooled by her appearance too. Staring at the screen flooded with information, Orissa fell into deep thoughts. If she was really the one who did that to me back then, it's going to take me some effort to probe further into the matter. Besides, I'm sure she must have done something to cover up her doings. Where should I start then? If Donna's truly the mastermind behind the scheme years ago, I think I've just exposed myself. In this case, I'll have to be wary from now on. Otherwise, I'd probably be dead before I even get to seek revenge. Miss, we've arrived, the taxi driver reminded as he turned his head. His voice immediately drew Orissa out of her thoughts. After taking a quick glimpse of the familiar neighborhood, she hastily paid the fare before getting off. As soon as she arrived home and opened the door, her children rushed over before hugging her thighs. Jessie was even trying to climb onto her. Mommy, you're back. Their sweet voices instantly lightened up Orissa's mood. Smiling, she replied, yes. I'm home. Oliver also climbed, causing Orissa to lose her balance and stumble backward. Instinctively, she held them tight before closing the door. Hey, Mommy's about to fall down. Get down now. No way. I want Mommy to carry me. Jess's front teeth were missing, and she could barely utter a clear word. Regardless, she was cute speaking in her soft voice. Orissa patted Jess's plump cheeks lovingly as she said, Sweetheart, come here. Standing still, she carried Jessie before giving a peck on her cheek. Hee hee, Mommy, I want to kiss you too. Jessie wrapped her arms around Orissa's neck and gleefully placed a couple of kisses. Within seconds, Orissa's face was all covered with saliva. Mommy, I want kisses too, requested Oliver after seeing what Jessie did. While he was trying to climb onto Orissa, his glasses slid down his nose. Orissa could not help laughing at his silly look. The other two were glad to see Orissa, but they did not do the same. Instead, Zachary and Gavin clung to Orissa's thighs on each side. Okay, no one will be missed. Then, she carried Oliver and gently kissed him on the cheek. Oliver pushed his glasses up. After his vision became clear, he dropped a light kiss on Orissa's cheeks. Upon looking at her bubbly children, Orissa's heart melted as she beamed at the blissful scene before her. She squatted down before pulling Zachary and Gavin in her arms to kiss them. Nonetheless, she did not notice that Gavin's cheeks had turned red. I'm going to the bathroom, and I'll be back to join you in a moment. She hugged them all before running to the bathroom. They could not help giggling when they saw her in haste. They were having fun on their own when she came out. The four of them looked exactly the same. Orissa stood at the side as she watched them fondly. They're all my kids. It'd be great if my eldest son could be here too. A hint of melancholy fleeted across her gaze as that idea hit her. I don't even know if my son is doing well. Why did the woman take him away? If she intended to raise him as her own, is she treating him right? Soon, Zachary and Gavin spotted the soppy look on her face. Feeling puzzled, the two exchanged glances. What's wrong with Mommy? Didn't the interview go well? They approached Orissa before asking in concern, Mommy, how was the interview? Orissa swiftly hid her sadness behind a gentle smile. I failed the interview, huh? Zachary was shocked as he frowned. That shouldn't happen because Mommy's pretty capable. He turned around and shot Gavin a doubtful look. What's wrong with your daddy? Earlier in the morning, Gavin was overjoyed to hear from Zachary that Orissa was going to Graham Group for an interview. He was confident that she would definitely get the offer. Upon hearing the disappointing news, Gavin questioned anxiously, Mommy, why didn't you get the offer? Mommy, didn't you talk to the assistant? Why did you fail the interview then? Zachary stared at her in bewilderment. After a moment's pause, he asked, who was the one that failed you? Was Daddy the one who did that? At the same time, Gavin had his eyes locked on her as he waited for a solid answer that could clear his doubt. Oliver and Jesse went over too. Both of them held Orissa's hands as they comforted, Mommy, don't be sad. It's their loss they didn't hire you. We'll look for better companies and let them learn their lesson for missing out on a good candidate like you. Orissa broke into a smile when she heard those words. She led them to the living room and sat down. Everything went well without a hitch, and I thought I had a high chance too. Not until I met a woman when I was waiting for Benjamin, and she chased me out. Little did she expect such a drastic turn of events before she could meet Benjamin. Gavin narrowed his eyes with a scornful expression on his face. Mommy, who's that woman? Could she be Donna Adams? Gavin had already taken Orissa as his mommy, and the only feeling he harbored toward Donna was nothing but hatred. She's Benjamin Graham's fiancée. Orissa looked at her children as she expressed her grievance. Gavin's lips slightly twitched as the name rang in his ears. What a shameless woman. She isn't even Daddy's fiancée. Even though she thinks she is, Daddy has never acknowledged her, and he has no plan of marrying her too. If he really intended to do so, he would have done that when she brought me back 4 years ago. How shameless is she to go around telling people that she's Daddy's fiancée? Mommy, don't get fooled. I've never heard about Benjamin having a fiancée. Gavin certainly did not want Orissa to get things wrong. Zachary took a look at the former before he retorted, How dare that woman say that? At that moment, Gavin was rendered speechless by Zachary's blunt reply that was so close to exposing him. Grinning, Orissa was touched by their protective acts. Chapter 14. Orissa was pleased to see her children defending her when mistreated and showering her with care at a time like this. Okay, it's okay. I'll just look for another job. She wore a smile to set their minds at ease. Zachary grabbed her hand. Mommy, don't worry. We'll take care of you. Orissa was utterly moved by Zachary's words. She gave him a warm embrace before patting his head. There's no need for you to do that. I'll take care of you. It's the thought that counts. Of course, I won't let them bear the burden of living. It's still too early for them to take on such a heavy responsibility at this young age. Mommy, I can make lots of money after selling another program. Oliver assured confidently. Mommy, don't forget about me. I can earn a lot of money by modeling too. Jesse hugged Orissa tightly. She also wished to help out. Mommy, I have some money too. I can take care of you. Gavin raised his thought without hesitation, hoping that Orissa could worry less about getting a job. Moved by their acts, Orissa held them closer in her arms. Thank you for your kind thoughts. I've got this covered, so, you can keep the money for yourselves. Oliver, you should stop writing those programs. It took a lot of effort to do programming. She definitely did not want her child overworking himself. Oliver ducked his head timidly after getting warned. Letting out a chuckle, he replied, All right. Mommy, Jesse, you're not allowed to accept modeling jobs without my permission. Orissa caressed Jess's head. After all, it was not easy money. The children probably had to work harder than the adults, as they had to undergo training constantly. Mommy, anything you say. Jess's lips curled into a bright smile. Her missing front teeth made her look rather endearing. Gavin cast his gaze upon Jessie, who looked fairer and more delicate than the rest. He has the same dimples as Mommy when he smiles. The more I look at him, the more he looks like a girl to me. How good it would be if he were a girl and were my sister. Jessie caught sight of his attentive gaze and returned with a smile. Gavin cracked a smile as he patted her head. Jess is so cute. Orissa looked at Jessie, and she thought the same too. Jessie had been raised as a little boy ever since she was born. Her hair was short, and she wore the same outfit as her brothers. Hence, everyone would easily see her as a boy. Orissa took Jessie in her arms and kissed her cheek. Jessie was so happy that she could not stop giggling. My baby is so adorable. Let me kiss you. Orissa was laughing as she played with Jessie. Hee hee. Mommy, that tickles. Jessie ducked her head in, and she was beaming with joy. The other three chuckled at the scene too. Meanwhile, Zachary went to sit at a corner and texted Jasper. Mommy didn't get hired by Benjamin. Jasper could not help but scowl at the text message. Benjamin didn't hire Mommy. His anger spiked after knowing that Orissa was kicked out by Donna. That's horrible. Losing his rag, he threw the book in his hands. Edwin was dumbfounded by the former's action. Did someone mess with him? Edwin went over to calm him down. Gavin, what's wrong? Jasper glanced at Edwin and pondered for a brief moment. Only Benjamin and I are staying in this place, and Donna's not here. I'm eager to ask Edwin about Benjamin's relationship with Donna. Just then, the housekeeper walked to them. Miss Adams is here. Donna was following behind the housekeeper. Apparently, she was there to look for Gavin. Her sudden appearance did not help matters because Jasper was more enraged after seeing her. He then shot her a death stare. Donna furrowed when she met his menacing gaze, and she started cursing inwardly. What a brat. Now that he has grown older, he's getting more and more disrespectful. He's even glaring at me like this. I must teach him a lesson today. Miss Adams. Edwin greeted her politely. Edwin, go tend to your chores. I'll spend some time with Gavin. Donna held her anger in before gesturing for Edwin to leave. Wearing a smile, she went closer to Jasper. Edwin peeked at Jasper and saw his furious expression. Despite feeling worried, he still moved aside. Donna grinned from ear to ear when she saw Jasper. Gavin, are you still mad at me? I'm sorry. Let me take you out for some nice food. Edwin gave her a quick sidelong glance without saying a word. She's Gavin's mom, and she has been bringing him out all this while. There's nothing wrong with her taking him out this time too. I don't need you to do that. You're such a shameless person. I feel disgusted whenever I see you. Get lost, exclaimed Jasper, seemingly not afraid to offend her feelings. Jasper could not care less about anyone when he was triggered. Edwin had never seen Gavin speak to Donna in such a harsh manner before. Thus, he was stunned by the scene. There was a hint of viciousness that fleeted across Donna's gaze when she placed her hand on Jasper. She put on a helpless expression as though she was an unwanted mother by her son. At the same time, she was secretly exerting force and attempting to pinch Jasper's arm. However, she did not know the child in front of her was not Gavin. In fact, Jasper was not someone who would tolerate such an act. Before Donna could make her move, Jasper responded with a kick. Consumed by pain and wrath, her eyes turned red in seconds. Gavin Graham! Donna yelled furiously. She was caught completely off guard by his attack. I didn't know this brat could be so strong. Jasper met her sinister glare. He was startled for a bit before he burst into tears. Edwin rushed over and held Jasper in his arms. He dared not get angry at Donna but comforted Jasper instead. Don't be afraid. Mr. Whitley, why did she do that? Why? What have I done wrong? She's not my mom. I don't want a mother like her. She even tried to pinch me. Jasper wept in sorrow. Edwin's face turned solemn after listening to Jasper. He averted his gaze to Donna. Miss Adams. Donna widened her eyes in disbelief. I didn't expect Gavin to complain about me. She caught Edwin's skeptical gaze and went into a state of panic. I didn't do anything. Edwin, don't listen to him. Gavin, how could you tell lies? What have I taught you? Why are you lying? I'm your mom. You're not my mom. Not only did you try to pinch me, but you've been scolding me too. Besides, you even told me to lie. You're a bad woman, so you're not my mom. Jasper wailed while burying his head in Edwin's arms. I've never expected her to try doing that to me in front of everyone. She could have done worse when no one was around. Jasper shuddered when the scenes of Donna attempting to harm him flashed across his mind. I feel sorry for Gavin. Donna must have done the same to him before, and he surely didn't know how to retaliate. Jasper made a scene on purpose only because he felt bad for his younger brother. Gavin Graham. Donna's face contorted in rage. She wished she could teach him a lesson on the spot. If I knew earlier that Benjamin wasn't going to marry me even after I brought this brat back, I would have abandoned him back then rather than having him raise his voice at me and accuse me now. Chapter 15. Jasper was trembling in fear, and his response drew Edwin's sympathy. The latter said in a low voice, Miss Adams, you've frightened Gavin. Edwin, look at him. It has only been a few days, but he's already acting out of line now. He even learned how to tell lies. I must teach him a lesson today. Donna could no longer keep her composure. She reached out her hands, wanting to pull Jasper over. Jasper grabbed Edwin's thigh tightly and glared at her. Do you dare say that you didn't try to hurt me? A look of guiltiness flashed across Donna's eyes, but she soon managed to keep her cool before chiding with a straight face, You're lying. Your daddy will be so disappointed to find out that you're telling lies. Jasper was about to explode with rage. He rolled his sleeve up before stretching out his hand. Mr. Whitley, she really had the intention. When Jasper had tried to free himself from Donna's grip before, a mark was left. Convinced by Jasper's allegation, Edwin's face fell as he stared at Donna. Miss Adams, I'll have to call Mr. Graham. Edwin was burning in fury because he could not believe Donna would try to do that to a child even when he was around. The Grahams will never allow anyone to lay their hands on their family members. Hence, she's in no position to punish Gavin even though she is his mother. Although Benjamin was not someone expressive in his feelings, he cared a lot about Gavin. Edwin, don't. I didn't try to hurt him. Gavin, how could you play such a dirty trick? Once your daddy's back, I'll make sure that he educates you well. Donna was guilty of her doings. How would I expect him to fight back? It's better if I push all the blames on him. What a hypocrite. You were trying to hurt me just a while ago. Mr. Whitley, why is she such a vicious woman? I want daddy. I want daddy. Jasper started crying aggrievedly again. Besides, he was also taking the chance to see if Benjamin truly cared about him. If daddy sides with this bad woman, we'll leave him behind. Edwin's heart ached to see Jasper cry. He carried the poor boy in his arms. Gavin, don't cry. I'm here, and I'll call your daddy back home now. Donna was terrified as soon as she heard that Benjamin would be coming home. If Benjamin knows about what I tried to do to Gavin, it will definitely affect our relationship. He has already warned me after I got rid of this brat's cotton candy yesterday. Edwin, Benjamin's still at work. I don't think we should bother him because of such a trivial matter. Angered by Donna's action, Edwin brushed her off in a stern manner. Miss Adams, I think it's better if you can talk to Mr. Graham personally regarding this matter. We've been doing our best to keep Gavin safe from injuries. How could she try to do that? If she dares to do so even when I am present, she'd probably go overboard when we're not around. Come to think about it, Gavin has been behaving strangely whenever she's here. I bet this wasn't her first attempt. Edwin's heart sank after fathoming the situation. The butler called Benjamin right away. The latter instantly rushed back home upon hearing the news. At that point, Donna was fully aware that it would make the allegation stick if she were to leave. She sat on the couch in the living room nervously. If Benjamin still cares about me, he'll probably let this slide. I'm Gavin's mom, after all. Meanwhile, Jasper was still crying. Donna stealthily shot him a death glare. He has been keeping everything to himself previously. Why is he going against me today? In fact, he actually started doing this yesterday. That's such a drastic change. Donna narrowed her eyes as she thought of bumping into Arissa at Graham Group. Did Arissa happen to meet this bastard child? Astounded by that possibility, Donna was torn between anger and trepidation. Has Benjamin already met Arissa before this? It's time for me to figure out a way to get rid of her forever. The evil look in Donna's gaze grew intense as she plotted against Arissa deep inside. In the meantime, Arissa was still unaware of everything happening behind her back. She spent some time playing with her children before bringing them out for a meal, and they were all over the moon. "Mommy, I want to have a lot of nice food." Jessie, who was a foodie, could not hide her excitement as she tugged at Arissa's hand. "Mommy, what are we eating?" Oliver was delighted too. He had been waiting to try all the nice foods he saw on the internet before they returned to the country. "You can eat whatever you want." Arissa gave them a playful wink as she fixed their hats. Only then did she notice that Jasper's hat was missing. "Jasper, where's your hat?" "Mommy, I gave it to another kid at the airport." Gavin played his role well as Jasper without exposing himself. He was pretty good at imitating Jasper's expression, so much so that Arissa did not notice anything out of the ordinary. Zachary cast him a glance as he ridiculed inwardly. He's pretty good at it. If he did not notice it earlier, he would have been fooled by Gavin too. "I'll give you my hat." Zachary removed his hat and placed it on Gavin's head. "I don't need that." Gavin turned Zachary down, thinking it was fine not to have one. "Listen to me and take it." Zachary wore a smile as he put it on Gavin, acting like he was the older brother. Gavin froze for a moment. Is he taking me as his younger brother? If Donna took me away instead of them, it's most likely that I'm the eldest kid among them. "Let's go. I'll buy you a new one," said Arissa, keeping the smile on her face. Gavin was on cloud nine when he heard that. Grinning from ear to ear, he chirped, "Thank you, Mommy." Arissa then brought her children out for a scrumptious meal. On the other hand, Benjamin rushed his way home within 10 minutes. Before he made it to the door, he could hear Jasper's pitiful wail coming from the inside. He had already heard him crying when they were on the phone just a moment ago. Benjamin's face darkened as he furrowed his brows, and his apathetic demeanor shut him off from the others. "Mr. Graham." Edwin went toward Benjamin with Jasper in his arms, looking anxious. Jasper had been crying for a long time that his eyes were red-rimmed and swollen. His nose had turned red too. It hurt Edwin to see how aggrieved he looked. "Benjamin." Donna went closer to Benjamin, but she stopped in her tracks when she caught sight of his sharp gaze. "Daddy, Daddy." Jasper was so worn after crying his heart out for a long time. He went toward Benjamin to ask for a hug when he finally saw the latter. Benjamin scooped Jasper in his arms and gently patted him on the back. "Don't cry." Even though he sounded slightly awkward, he spoke in an exceptionally gentle tone. Jasper leaned on Benjamin's shoulder, and his eyes lit up within moments. It seemed like Benjamin did care about him. Then, he complained to Benjamin with a pitiful look, "Daddy, she tried to hurt me." Donna did not succeed in her action, but the idea of trying to do that was enough to infuriate Benjamin. Benjamin's gaze grew darker with a sense of murderous intent as he shot Donna a stern look. It was Donna's first time to see him staring at her that way. She immediately felt a chill down her spine. Quivering, she attempted to explain herself. "Benjamin, listen to me." Get lost," exclaimed Benjamin in a cold manner. Chapter 16. Benjamin held Jasper close while gently placing a hand on his head in a protective stance. He acted coldly toward Donna. "No one is allowed to harm a child of the Graham family. Don't you dare to come close to Gavin anymore. Benjamin, I am Gavin's mom, and he's my beloved child. Why would I ever hurt him? He was the one that..." Her eyes met Benjamin's cold gaze. She did not dare to place the blame on Jasper and immediately started to beg for mercy. "I did not do it on purpose. All I wanted was to give him a hug. I never thought of hurting him. Are you taking me for a fool, Miss Adams?" Benjamin scoffed. Donna opened her mouth in shock. Her eyes grew red-rimmed as she shook her head. "No, don't you know that I have never taken you for a fool? Get lost." Benjamin chased her out and glanced at Edwin before carrying Jasper to his study. "Please take your leave, Miss Adams." Edwin remained polite despite being fueled with anger. Donna watched as Benjamin left along with Jasper. She felt hurt at the realization that he was kicking her out for real. Please leave, Miss Adams. Have you not caused enough harm by hurting Gavin? I don't care if you don't treasure him, but as a mother, you should never bully him, Edwin heartlessly urged. With the fact that Donna planned to marry Benjamin by leveraging on the fact that Gavin was their son, Edwin was shocked to see her be so cruel toward Gavin. He felt that Donna was way more ruthless than any stepmother in the world would be toward her son. Gavin is still young, and yet he has to endure cruel treatment from his mother. He doesn't even utter a single word about it. No wonder he has a gloomy personality and shuts himself out. Donna gritted her teeth furiously and left. I'll come to see Gavin next time. You're the bastard that made Benjamin scold me. I'll get my revenge. Miss Adams, I suggest that you stop coming over. Gavin is not pleased to meet you either. Stop pestering him. It was true that Gavin felt uncomfortable whenever she was present. She glared at him in return. Are you not afraid that I might tell Benjamin about your attitude toward me, Edwin? Even if I were wrong, Gavin is my son. You're in no position to judge me. Go ahead and snitch on me, Miss Adams. Edwin was well aware that Donna was enraged and snorted secretly in his heart. She must be putting up an act. How could she be the one that gave birth to Gavin? It's so pitiful that he has her as his mother. I hope that he now knows her true nature after this incident. Donna was pissed and had no idea how to deal with Edwin. He was a senior and had served Benjamin for a long time. All she could do was say things out of spite to relieve herself. There was nothing she could complain about in front of Benjamin, as it would all be pointless. She had no other choice but to leave, since she did not wish to make Benjamin hate her more. Benjamin entered his study while carrying Jasper. Then, he grabbed the first aid kit. An irritated look was visible on his face as he checked if Jasper had any wounds. Jasper looked briefly at him. He took a deep breath as he was slightly frightened by Benjamin, who remained silent throughout the process. Benjamin had a look at Jasper and noticed that the latter was crying. Tears flowed non-stop out of his swollen red eyes. Benjamin felt his heart ache at how distressed the child appeared. Stop crying. You're a big boy. Jasper bit the corner of his mouth frustratingly. I'm hurt. Why does she hate me? Other children's mommy could not bear to hurt their child, but mommy tried to pinch me with all her might. Is she even my mommy? Benjamin was stunned. They previously underwent a DNA test to prove that Gavin was no doubt their child. He gulped and took a quick glimpse at Jasper. Before proceeding to close the first aid kit, he softened his tone and spoke. You can stop seeing your mommy if you don't like her. Benjamin was confident that his son would grow up properly even if his mother was not around. Donna had gone too far this time. Hope lit up in Jasper's eyes as he asked pitifully, really? Don't you love her? Are you still going to marry her, then? She told me that you would, Daddy. Benjamin frowned. You don't have to worry about it. It's never going to happen. Jasper was stunned by his reply. What does he mean? Does this mean that Daddy does not love mommy? Or is he not going to marry her? I feel that she is not my mommy. She hated me since I was young. Whenever you all were not around, she would try to pinch me in places that would not be easily visible when she was displeased. Jasper honestly had no idea if Donna had always acted that way. He was just making things up to make Benjamin believe him. Benjamin's face turned solemn as he asked with a deep voice, why did you not tell me about this before? Jasper glimpsed at him and pouted. I did not dare to do so because she threatened me. He lowered his head and shivered as he explained. His sorrowful look made Benjamin's heart clench in pain. Benjamin gently ruffled the boy's hair and promised, from now on, I won't let anyone bully you. He felt guilty that his beloved child was almost hurt, not just by anyone but Donna. Jasper buried himself in Benjamin's arms and sniffed. Are you still going to be in a relationship with her, Daddy? A glint appeared in Benjamin's eyes as he had no clue how to answer his question. Well, would you like me to be with her? Jasper shook his head. No. Benjamin paused for a second after hearing Jasper answer with determination. He lowered his gaze onto Jasper's head. I thought that he would want us to remain together. Do you feel pain anywhere? He held Jasper and continued to check if Jasper had suffered any wounds. Here, Jasper patted his left chest to show Benjamin that he was physically fine but felt emotionally hurt by Donna's actions. Benjamin rarely witnessed his son crying. Ever since Gavin learned how to walk and speak, I've never seen him cry in such a manner. It breaks my heart. He gently patted Jasper's head and comforted him. Everything will be all right. Benjamin frowned as his expression darkened. How could his own mother be so rough toward him? I would never try to hurt him. Benjamin was very protective of his son. Even if Donna was someone who held an important place in his heart and was Gavin's mother, he could not help but feel agitated. Jasper felt that something was off with Benjamin and asked with caution, "Daddy, is she really my mommy? Could my mommy be someone else?" Upon hearing that, Benjamin knitted his brows. He looked at Jasper's hopeful eyes and cheekily squeezed his cheeks. "She is your mommy. You're overthinking. HMPH. For all I know, she might have adopted me. Don't you think that I look nothing like mommy, Daddy?" Jasper said in disappointment. A shiver ran down Benjamin's spine. Then, he observed Jasper's facial features. The child was roughly 70 to 80% similar to Benjamin in terms of looks, but he indeed had no resemblance to Donna. Usually, children took after their parents' looks. He was unable to convince Jasper since Jasper looked nothing like Donna. Chapter 17. Hey, Daddy, what if Mommy wanted to marry you, so she took someone else's child to claim as hers? Jasper added while Benjamin remained confused. Benjamin rubbed Jasper's head. He was amazed by the child's imagination. When Benjamin woke up years ago, Donna was already by his side. He was furious at her schemes. She then left him just to return with a child, claiming he was theirs through a DNA test. There was a blurry memory that never left his mind. It was a memory where there was another woman with a gentler voice, and she wore a unique perfume. He cut his train of thoughts. If Donna really adopted a child and the child is mine by coincidence, then who exactly is that woman? It was not as if Benjamin never suspected so. However, it was scientifically proven that Gavin was indeed Donna and his child. Could she have altered the results of the DNA test? Daddy, I don't want her as my mommy. I want another mommy. Jasper held on to Benjamin and nuzzled against him. Gavin had never acted childishly around Benjamin, hence Benjamin's heart melted at this sight. Benjamin patted Jasper's head and said, "Don't say such silly things." Even though Benjamin had his doubts, there was no way he could discuss them with his son without having solid proof. He wanted to prevent his son from unnecessarily hating Donna even more. Jasper pouted. It seemed that Benjamin had yet to fully trust him. "I have to obtain concrete evidence to persuade Daddy. Daddy, if she really isn't my mommy, would you be with my biological mommy instead?" Benjamin never thought of such a scenario. If Donna was not Gavin's mother, how would Gavin's true mother be together with Benjamin if he had never even seen her face? Meanwhile, Orissa brought her 4 kids out for a meal and went shopping to let them familiarize themselves with their surroundings. "Jasper, what kind of hat do you prefer?" Gavin was not used to other people calling him Jasper, so it took him a while before he responded. Zachary lightly tapped Gavin since Orissa was puzzled by his lack of response. "Mommy is calling you." Gavin came back to his senses with a blush on his face. "What did you say, Mommy?" Orissa noticed that he wasn't paying attention and squeezed his cheeks while pointing at the store. "Which hat do you like?" Gavin looked at the hats available and replied, "I like the black one." Orissa froze. "Doesn't he like green?" "Are you sure?" Gavin had no idea why she was asking him such a question. "Yes," he answered while nodding. Orissa was shocked and teased him, "Are you going for a change of style? Didn't you like green?" Gavin was stunned to hear that because Jasper never mentioned that he liked green. Zachary laughed as he noticed that Gavin was confused. He was worried that Orissa could see through their lie. "Mommy, he wants to look cool." Gavin glimpsed at Zachary and remained speechless. "What do you mean? It's just my favorite color." Oliver rubbed his chin as he felt that Jasper was acting weirdly. "Wasn't green your favorite color? When did that change?" Gavin glanced at him and smirked in return. "Am I not allowed to have a change in style? I want to change my style too." Jessie exclaimed smilingly. "Mommy, can I have the pink one?" Orissa was amused by Jess's request. She requested the storekeeper for 2 hats, one black, and one pink. Jessie instantly tried out the hat and showed it to the others. How do I look? It's perfect. Gavin supported Jessie. His gaze remained on Jessie as the hat made the latter seem even more feminine. Here, try the hat. Orissa squatted and helped Gavin wear his hat. He looked fantastic in the black hat, making his features stand out even more. She sighed as none of her children looked like her. She was confident that they looked like their father, but she did not know who their father was, nor did she know where to find him. Even if she did not have the courage to seek their biological father out as she was worried that he would be an improper person. She would prefer to never know about their father if that were the case. Oliver adjusted Gavin's hat by turning it around. Now, you look cooler. Gavin looked at them and turned to the mirror. He agreed with Oliver's statement. Mommy, I want this hat. Sure. Orissa adored him and caressed his face. Thank you, Mommy. Gavin's face flushed with excitement because it was his first ever present from his mother. Orissa smiled at him and paid for the hats before continuing their shopping trip. She bought whatever they needed. Before heading home, they shopped for groceries for their dinner. Mommy, rest. We'll handle dinner, Zachary told Orissa as soon as they reached home. Orissa was touched. You all should rest too. I'll make dinner in a moment. We're not tired at all. Zachary called his siblings, and they carried the groceries into the kitchen before keeping them neatly. It was the first time Gavin did such chores. Thus, he found it interesting. However, he kept misplacing the groceries, causing Zachary and Oliver to be pissed. Jessie lightly tugged the corner of Gavin's shirt. Jasper, let's prepare the vegetables. Leave the rest to them. Jessie sat on a chair and started to prepare the vegetables. Gavin was amazed by how skilled Jessie was and asked out of curiosity, "You're so good at it. I don't know how to do it as properly as you." Jessie felt puzzled. Jasper, you're doing a better job than me. Are you trying to make me happy? Gavin quickly added, hee hee. I am. He learned how to prepare the vegetables after observing how Jessie did it. Zachary and Oliver started to cook the dishes after storing the groceries. Gavin stood aside and watched in amusement. Zachary noticed that Gavin was in awe and smirked. From now on, we have to help Mommy with these chores. Whenever Mommy is not at home, we have to prepare our own meals. They're incredible. Gavin was amazed. That's right. Mommy works very hard, so we have to help her. Jessie agreed. Would you like to sweep the floor, or should I do it instead? Oliver asked Gavin. Gavin knew how to sweep the floor, so he answered, I'll do it. Sure, I'll mop the floor then. Oliver split the chores among themselves. Orissa walked over and was delighted to hear the heartwarming conversation between her children. She felt that any kind of pain and suffering was worth it if it was for the sake of her children. Kids, go and play. Leave the rest to me. She told her children to leave and proceeded to cook the meals. Gavin did not leave. Instead, he stood in the kitchen, watching her cook. Orissa looked at him and noticed that his expression was filled with curiosity. She felt that something was off. Are you hungry, Jasper? You can have some bread in the meantime, but make sure not to eat too much since we're going to have dinner soon. Chapter 18. Mommy, I want to watch you cook. Gavin said softly, looking at her in eager anticipation. Orissa smiled at him in return and said with a gentle voice, Sure. Sit down aside and don't stick close to me. Watch out for any oil splatters. Okay. Gavin was over the moon. He pulled a chair over and sat down obediently. Why did you suddenly want to watch me cook? Orissa asked. I want to accompany Mommy. Gavin replied while his eyes were glued onto her. Orissa was moved by his reply and smiled brightly. Gavin did not get to watch for long before Oliver called him. Jasper, are you trying to slack off? You said that you would sweep the floor. Come out here and start sweeping. Gavin was startled. Oops, I forgot about that. Mommy, I'm leaving for a moment. Gavin uttered. Orissa turned around and acknowledged him with a smile. Gavin ran out and hurriedly started to sweep the floor. On the other hand, Oliver washed the mop and mopped the floor. Meanwhile, Zachary tidied the rooms along with Jessie. The 4 children worked together and busied themselves with chores. Orissa was pleased to see them so obedient at such a young age. Without their help to do some of the chores, she would have been overwhelmed. Half an hour later, the four children lounged on the sofa watching animations. Oliver was browsing through the many channels available. Suddenly, a news title caught Jess's attention. The child tugged Oliver's shirt with excitement upon seeing someone that had a similar appearance to them. Go back to the previous channel. Oliver changed back the channel, but it was too late. Jessie was upset. Why is it gone? What's the matter, Jessie? Zachary turned his head and asked. I think I saw Daddy just now. Jessie looked at him in eagerness. That person looks exactly like my brothers. Zachary was dumbstruck. Gavin also looked at Jessie. It is common for Daddy to appear on television programs, but he usually hates to do so. Why did I not notice him even though I was watching the television too? Jessie tried to convince them. The person was tall and looked handsome. Just like Oliver. It must be our Daddy. Oliver scratched the back of his head and frowned. Why did I not see it? Daddy was standing at the back. Jessie described. There was no doubt that the person Jessie saw was Benjamin. It was an opening ceremony. The camera happened to catch him in their footage for a second. It was a mere second, and the media did not talk about him directly. You don't even know who it is, and you're already claiming him as your daddy. Oliver poked Jess's head. Jessie dodged him belatedly. Don't you want to know? I do, but there are billions of people out there. Besides, the news didn't mention the event's location. Oliver pursed his lips. They didn't even know if their father was dead or alive. Zachary and Gavin stared at each other, debating if they should tell the others the truth. That's enough. Change the channel already. Don't you want to watch television? Zachary chimed in. Oliver immediately changed the channel, and Jessie hugged a cushion happily. The latter's favorite animation was on television. It's starting. It's starting. Orissa heard Jess's joy from the kitchen and peeked at them. She saw the four siblings watching television together and continued checking if the soup was ready. Zachary fished out his phone and found Benjamin's phone number through Gavin's phone. He then sent Benjamin a message. Gavin's eyes widened. He asked softly, "What are you doing? Keep quiet." Zachary shot Gavin a look and glanced toward Oliver and Jessie. Gavin silently looked at him in return and noticed that Zachary was sending a message as Orissa to request working with Benjamin. Gavin pulled Zachary's sleeve and whispered into Zachary's ear, "You could have just asked me to recommend Mommy." Zachary was doubtful. Can Mommy join the company without his approval? Gavin frowned and decided to discuss it with Ethan. Benjamin soon received a message through his private number. He was confused as he opened the message. The message read, "My name is Orissa York. I regrettably had to leave earlier according to the wishes of your fiancé. Mr. Graham, if you have yet to find a suitable candidate, please consider giving me a chance. I am confident that I can handle the company's job well." He narrowed his eyes as he read the message. How did this woman get my private number? HMPH, does she have other motives? Is she coming back to Graham Group because she hit a snag elsewhere? If she really wanted to join Graham Group, she shouldn't have left without leaving any explanation. He texted back, "No way." Zachary read Benjamin's reply and became furious. How dare he reject Mommy without giving it any thought? He typed another message and sent it in a blink of an eye. "You will regret this." Benjamin's expression turned dark after seeing the reply. "I've never regretted anything in my whole life." Gavin also saw Benjamin's text and sighed. Why doesn't Daddy want to give Mommy a chance? She's extremely talented. Zachary rushed to his room, and Gavin followed him. Oliver did not understand why they were in such a hurry. He followed them into the room and saw Zachary turning on his laptop. "What are you doing? Shish. I'm going to teach someone a lesson." Zachary pressed his lips together. Gavin could guess what his plans were. Zachary could hack someone within seconds just by obtaining their address. His superb hacking skills still amazed Gavin. Oliver settled down behind Zachary and asked Gavin, "Who is Zachary dealing with?" Gavin replied, "I'll answer that later." Zachary cut off the electric supply at Benjamin's mansion. It was evening, and the mansion needed electricity to light up the area. It turned dark at the mansion, so Edwin swiftly headed downstairs to check the electric switches just to find out that they were fine. Therefore, he called a repairman to fix the issue. Benjamin frowned as he exited his study. What's going on? The electrical circuit might be broken. We'll repair it as soon as possible. Edwin had no clue what the problem was. Benjamin was worried that Jasper would be afraid of the dark, so he rushed upstairs to Jasper's room. It was at this moment that the computer in his study was hacked. Benjamin saw that Jasper was fast asleep and headed back downstairs. Then, he noticed that someone had messed with his computer. The keys were not working at all. With this, he realized that the blackout was not due to pure coincidence. Hee hee. Suddenly, there was a burst of creepy laughter from the computer. You can never catch me. On the screen, a few chicks were running around, mocking him. It made Benjamin think of Arissa. Haha, she has a few tricks up her sleeve. Is she doing this out of spite because I rejected her? Anger surged within him as his face turned icy cold. Now, he wanted to get to know Arissa better. He took out his phone and dialed her number, but no one picked up. Chapter 19. Sweethearts, it's time to eat. Stop playing on the computer and go wash your hands. Arissa cooked the dishes, came over, and ordered the children to wash their hands, unaware that someone had ill intentions toward her. Mommy, we're coming. Hastily, they turned off the computer, and Zachary looked at Gavin. Why did he call me? He didn't suspect us, did he? Asked Zachary. The boy then hastily removed the SIM card, so as not to be tracked down by Benjamin. He didn't expect Benjamin to be so perceptive and grew too careless. He won't blame it on Mommy, will he? That's highly possible. Gavin had not expected Zachary to go ahead and hack Benjamin's computer. He thought the latter had only hacked into the electrical circuit system. I had just texted Daddy before hacking into his computer. He's definitely going to be suspicious. What are you guys talking about? Can you tell me? Oliver looked at the two, frustration evident on his face. They had been talking without letting him in on their conversation. Sweethearts, come out, shouted Arissa again. Zachary patted his restless younger brother on the shoulder. I'll tell you about it after dinner. Let us go outside. Mommy's rushing us. Let's go eat first. Gavin followed behind and walked out of the room. When Oliver heard this, he twitched his lips. They have a secret, and they're even hiding it from me. HMPH. He also hurriedly ran out of the room. The three of them washed their hands and went to the dining room, where Jesse had already taken a seat and was drinking the soup. You guys are so slow. I've almost finished a bowl. Jesse smiled. Gavin sat down next to her and caressed her head. Then drink more if you like it, and we will drink less. Jesse smiled, looked at him, then turned to focus on eating. Gavin stared at Jesse for a while. He really smiles like a girl. Worried about hurting the child, Gavin hid that thought in his heart and did not tell anyone. Hurry up and eat. Arissa served the soup to the children. She also served herself a bowl, sat down, and began to eat. Meanwhile, at the Graham residence, Benjamin narrowed his eyes. He checked his computer and found that no files on the computer had been touched. Hacking his computer seemed to be just a way to show displeasure. Surprisingly, this number couldn't track her position. Is she really cautious, or is the person who hacked my computer not her? The timing was too much of a coincidence though. This woman has some nerve, doesn't she? How dare she try me? Isn't she afraid that I'll pursue the matter? Without conclusive evidence, he could not determine that the person who had just hacked the computer was definitely Arissa, but she was the prime suspect. Just then, Ethan came over to report Benjamin's schedule. As he approached the ladder, his eyes met the man's intense glare, and it frightened him. Mr. Graham, he sized up Benjamin and gingerly greeted him. Did I do something to offend him? Benjamin sneered in response. Did you give my private number to someone else? Ethan widened his eyes and hastily shook his head. No, I didn't. I don't have the guts to give someone else your private number. I still have to live. He continued. What's wrong? Is a woman causing him trouble? Benjamin's gaze was cold and stern as he looked at Ethan. You didn't give Arissa either. No, I didn't give her your contact number, not even your business card. I swear to God. Ethan raised his hand and swore. Benjamin frowned. He didn't give Arissa my number, so how would she have my number? Mr. Graham, did she call you? Asked Ethan softly. Benjamin gave him a sharp look and asked in a low voice, do you know where she is now? Ethan froze for a while, not understanding his intention. Mr. Graham, may I ask why you're looking for her? Doesn't she want to work at Graham Group? Tell her to come to my office tomorrow. He would like to see this woman, to find out what kind of person she was. If she really hacked into his computer, he would get his revenge. No one could play him and still be safe. Ethan was surprised and patted his thigh. I'm going to inform her now. Benjamin's cold gaze pierced him instantly. Ethan controlled his expression and moved aside to call Arissa. Arissa received a call from Ethan informing her that she was to go to Graham Group tomorrow for another interview. She was stunned, as she had originally intended to resubmit her resume after dinner. Mr. Frank, are you sure it was Mr. Graham who told me to go there? She didn't want to be humiliated again like she had been that morning. Affirmative. He just asked me to inform you to come back. I'm really sorry about what happened today. It was all a misunderstanding. Then, he continued, don't worry about it, Miss York. Mr. Graham loves people who have talent, and you can tell him directly what you need. You are free tomorrow, aren't you? Yes. Arissa thought for a moment and decided to head over there. I'll be there on time. I have to see him this time, even if that woman tries to stop me. If I fail the interview again, I'll have no choice but to accept the outcome. Graham Group's salary and benefits are among the best in the industry. It would be a waste if I just gave up like that. We will be waiting for you, replied Ethan with a smile. Without further ado, he hung up the phone and relayed to Benjamin, Miss York will be in the office tomorrow. Benjamin was not surprised. He suddenly asked, you have seen this woman. What do you think of her? She is a beautiful and very intellectual person. It's a pleasure to see her. Ethan replied with a flattering expression on his face. Man, she's a beauty. If we work together in the future, my mood can be much better during work. I'll be close to her when we work together, and maybe I'll have a chance to pursue her. Benjamin stared at him coldly and snorted. Such a high evaluation. Mr. Graham, that's because you haven't seen her yet. When you see her tomorrow, you'll know what I'm talking about. Ethan patted his chest in affirmation. Suddenly remembering something, he asked, Mr. Graham, why have you suddenly changed your mind? Benjamin's face immediately darkened. My computer had been hacked. Ethan was stunned to hear that. Who would so dare to hack Grim Reaper's computer? That person must be tired of living. You suspect that Miss York hacked your computer. The man was quick on the uptake. Benjamin handed his phone over to show the relevant text messages, and Ethan was shocked after reading them. No way. That's not her number. I don't believe she'd do something like that. We are all adults, and no one is going to be stupid enough to provoke Mr. Graham like that. He showed Benjamin her phone number to prove her innocence. Mr. Graham, look, a different number. Benjamin frowned deeply. It's not her. Who is it then? He looked at Ethan, and Ethan immediately understood what he meant. I'll check it immediately. He tried to locate the IP address but was unsuccessful. However, he did find the registration information. Mr. Graham, the owner of this number is Zachary York. Zachary York. His last name is York too. The tip of Benjamin's tongue topped the inside of his cheek, and his eyes deepened as he pondered. Chapter 20. Zachary was eating his meal, and his eyes flashed when he heard the alarm on his phone. Mommy, I'll leave for a second. With that, he left his chair and ran to his phone. When he saw someone checking his data, he narrowed his eyes, used his hacking technique, and attacked directly. In the blink of an eye, all the information about him was erased. Sweetheart, what's going on? Arissa turned around and looked at her son. She wondered what he was doing, not coming to dinner. Mommy, give me a second. After making sure the other party could not find any information on him, he then only walked over to Arissa. When she saw Zachary being mysterious, she laughed. What are you doing? Nothing. A friend was looking for me to play a game, and I replied him. Replied Zachary calmly. Gavin looked at Zachary and immediately knew something was wrong. Orissa also looked at him and smiled. Without questioning him any further, she gave each of the 4 children chicken wings before giving herself one. Hurry up and eat. Eat up before you play. Mommy, your cooking is so delicious. Gavin ate happily. He liked the food very much. Orissa was in high spirits from her son's praises. With a loving smile, she said, eat more if it's good. Seeing the children enjoying their food, she put on a satisfied expression. Meanwhile, over at Yaleview, Ethan saw that the information screen was suddenly blank. He furrowed his brows, searched again, and found that the information had become garbled. What's going on? Damn, this person has some skills. It ended up a fruitless search, and his phone was dead too. Ethan was astonished and reported to Benjamin. Mr. Graham, this person's techniques are definitely better than mine. The information I just found out is all messed up. Benjamin narrowed his eyes and was even more puzzled. Who is this person? What is he trying to do? Keep tracking that guy. Yes. Ethan did not dare to be sloppy. Daddy. Suddenly, a soft voice sounded from the doorway, and Benjamin's cold, stern face softened as he stood up and walked out. Jasper stood outside the study, rubbing his eyes. He had just woken, and his sleepy look was too adorable. Ethan liked Jasper a lot. He waved and greeted him, Jasper. Jasper lifted his head and looked at him. His little face showed a smile. Mr. Frank. Ethan smiled dotingly at him. Benjamin lifted Jasper up and touched his face. Do you still want to sleep? I don't want to sleep. I'm hungry. Jasper glanced at Benjamin and answered languidly. Deep in his heart, he was very nervous. I just came downstairs and heard that Benjamin was going to investigate Zachary. That's very strange. Why does Daddy want to check on him? Does he already know that Mommy gave birth to them? Benjamin met Jasper's eyes as he eyed him. He raised an eyebrow and carried him over to the dining room. Why are you staring at me like that? He asked. Jasper lowered his head and leaned against his shoulder. That action was like proof of his shyness, and it made Benjamin feel his heart soften. He rarely does that. That's pretty cute. When they reached the dining room, Benjamin sat Jasper down on a chair, got a towel, and cleaned his face. Then, he wiped his little hands. Jasper stared at Benjamin and rejoiced in his heart. Daddy is so good to me. Edwin served the soup to the father and son. Let's eat. Be careful, it's hot, reminded Benjamin before digging in as well. Jasper looked over to the study and whispered, won't Mr. Frank be eating with us? Benjamin frowned when he heard that. This boy is pretty good to Ethan. He glanced at Edwin and ordered, get Ethan over here. Yes, Mr. Graham. Whereupon, the butler went over and called Ethan. Delighted to learn that he was invited to dinner, Ethan hurriedly came out of the study. He said joyfully, Mr. Graham, how do you know I haven't eaten yet? Benjamin gave the talkative assistant a cold look and said in a light voice, it's my son who sent for you. Ethan's eyes lit up. He walked over, hugged Jasper, and chirped cheerfully, thank you, Jasper. The delighted assistant then sat down next to Jasper and put some food on the child's plate. Jasper, you slept for quite long, didn't you? Well, someone scolded me. I felt terrible, so I slept more, answered Jasper piteously. Ethan was shocked and angrily retorted, who scolded you? Tell me, and I'll teach that bully a lesson. Jasper pouted and glanced at him. He treats me so well, and it's genuine kindness toward me, unlike that woman. She always mistreats me behind their back. That woman, Jasper huffed. On. Benjamin looked at his son. He does not even call her mommy. Ethan, not knowing who it was, looked at them. What woman had the guts to scold Vu? Tell me, Jasper. I'll teach her some manners. Benjamin glanced at Ethan before looking at Jasper. The sight of Jasper's sad expression made his heart clench. Ethan noticed that as well. His eyes widened, and he asked again, who is that woman? Seeing Ethan's indignant look, Edwin glanced at Benjamin and reminded him, it's Miss Adams. Hearing that, Ethan's gaze moved from Jasper to Benjamin's face. He then gasped a little and swallowed his saliva. Hearing the unexpected name, Ethan backed away a little and asked, why? She's so strict with him. We can't even bear to scold him." Despite being furious, Ethan did not dare to speak out of line as he noticed Benjamin's gloomy expression. Jasper noticed the assistant's meekness and continued, "Mr. Frank, you think she's inconsiderate too, don't you? I know she doesn't like me. Maybe it's because I didn't help her that she pinched me." Ethan's heart ached upon seeing Jasper's sad face. "What does she want you to help her with?" Jasper looked at Benjamin. "To help ask Daddy to marry her quickly." Ethan despised her in his heart. She is so shameless. She even uses a little kid like Jasper to achieve her goals. She is not worthy of Mr. Graham. However, he didn't dare to speak out these thoughts. Benjamin's face was clearly still frosty, so he sat back down in his seat. "Eat first." Benjamin tousled Jasper's head, sounding concerned. Jasper realized his father had not promised not to marry Donna and kept silent. Does Daddy like that woman that much? If Daddy stays with that woman, what will happen to Mommy? What about us? After the marriage, Gavin will be even worse off at home. Daddy should never marry that woman. He then uttered, seemingly disappointed, "Okay." Several adults on the scene felt sympathetic looking at his pained expression. Benjamin's face grew grim, and there was anger in his eyes directed at Donna,